Everyone, I am Karaleise, and today we're going to be talking about Agile Software Development Methodology, what it is, and why you should care about it. So stay tuned, we'll be right back with some more about this. I'm going to head inside and finish this video. Everyone, so welcome back. Thank you for sticking to it and coming back to the video. So we want to talk today about Agile, the Agile Software Methodology. What is it and why should you care about it? Now, there are two main methodologies for software development, right? So one is Agile, the other one is Waterfall. Waterfall is the more standard, I would say the more common legacy kind of methodology that they've been using for many, many years. And what it is a systematic way of doing one thing, completing that, then moving on to the next, completing that until you eventually end up with the software. So you start off with all your requirements gathering, you complete all your documentation up front, then you pass that off, somebody else takes it up, they code it. When that is done, then you see, okay, this is what we have, and the end of the project, you have your software. Now, what's been happening is sometimes what you document, what you understood, is not exactly what you get when you actually deliver the software. And so, for many, many years, software projects have been delivered late, over budget, um, and they did not meet the requirements that the user or the vendor or the client wanted. So, there had to be another way to work faster, respond quicker to change, and be able to put software out that actually meets the client's expectation because they're paying for it, right? So over the last 20 or so years, there's been many attempts to fix this problem. And so many different methodologies were invented and they all came together eventually. And in 2001, they came up with the term Agile. And what Agile was is a new way of working. This is a way that you can, one, respond quickly to change. You can, two, be able to evaluate the software as you're building it and not wait till the end. But as you're building it, you evaluate, okay, does this meet what you want? Check, and you move on. And thirdly, it was important for you to be able to build software that had some benefit to the user. Because what was happening was you'd go and you build all these wonderful functionality that never get used. Nobody was using them. So there was a push to make sure that everything you do has some benefit and you keep focused on that benefit to the user. And so Agile was born. So the Agile software methodology is really a combination of different methodologies that were invented to kind of respond to the problem of waterfall, right? So the main thing was they came up with a number of values that they call the Agile Values, and they came up with the Agile Manifesto in 2001, and I'll put a link below that will tell you what the manifesto is. But basically, it was an approach that would help organizations respond quicker to change. The first thing it said was you need to put individuals and interactions over processes and tools, because what was happening was you had all this fancy process, right? You had to make sure you wrote the documentation a certain way, the wording had to be so correct, got to make sure you document everything so that the developers can understand you and you don't encourage misunderstanding. But you were focusing on the writing of the requirements, right? You were not having an interaction. You were not talking to people. You were not getting shared understanding. So there was a lot of emphasis on the tools that you're using, whether it's a use case document or if it was, I mean, you can still use use case documents, but there was, in organizations I've worked in, there was a lot of frantic, almost obsession with the process and the tool and not with the people and the interaction. So Agile came along and said, hey man, come on, let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's make sure that we understand because we're talking about it. Let's not try to write our understanding and hope that we convey that to somebody else. Let's just talk. Let's just have a conversation. Let's just talk about it. And that way we can know when we walk away we all understood what needs to be built. That was the first thing. The second thing was working software over comprehensive documentation. So, like I said, there was a lot of emphasis in waterfall environments on documenting. There's nothing wrong with that, but you might spend so much time up front documenting that you haven't really spent any time at all on the software, which is what you're building. So let's focus on building workable software over the documentation. So what happens in agile teams is that instead of spending a year or a couple months working on the entire system, in an agile team, they will spend 2 weeks on what we call a sprint, where in those 2 weeks you're building something that can be demonstrated, can be shown to work within those 2 weeks. So at the end of those 2 weeks, we have a demo, and now you can say, okay, yeah, this is exactly what I expect, or no, we've gone completely wrong. That way, you have a working software that you're continually building on. You're continually improving. So when you come to the end of the project, nobody's surprised, right? Nobody's wondering where did this come from. Everybody would have had check-in points within the sprint that would help them to understand the direction of where the software building was going. So working software over documentation. That's the second point of the Agile methodology. The third one is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So I've seen this happen so many times in my life, where we would want a software, especially when you're getting vendors. So you'd have a software that you want to use, and you spend a lot of time um, in the contract and making sure all the T's are dotted and all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and it's a lot of effort. But you didn't spend any time at all on the collaboration. So after you've negotiated the contract to the ends of the world, you get to implement it, and you're like, it doesn't do this. It doesn't do that. We thought it did this. I thought you said we could do that. And then you're like, oh my God, you've already signed a contract or you're in the process. So let's focus on the collaboration. Let us make sure it works together. Let's talk with the vendors. Let's talk with the clients. Let's talk with, there are many situations where you might want to get in business so quickly to make the money to kind of tie down the client that you run into the contract. But you want to make sure that if our company is being contracted by another company, that we actually can deliver what they want. Because if we get in a situation where they expect something, the salespeople told them something, and then when we get in there, we're not doing it the way they thought, it's not going to reflect good on us. So it doesn't make any sense to kind of rush to be in the contract if you're not able to deliver what they want. So part of it is making sure that you're not focusing so much on the contract, but on the collaboration, but on the communication, to make sure that you're both having the same understanding. And the last and not least, by any means, is responding to change. So the Agile Manifesto talks about responding to change over following a plan. There's nothing wrong with planning, and every project needs to have a plan and work with that plan. But let's be able to be responsive. Let's be able to adjust the plan if something happens. Let's be flexible. So many times I work in environments where there's a strict plan, and this is the plan, and we gotta fit the plan. But really, the plan shouldn't be running you. You should be running the plan. You should be able to adapt the plan, change the plan, fix the plan, make the plan work for you, and not be held, at hostage to a plan. It's a very it's a narrow road to walk, but it's something that we can make a lot of mistakes on. So to be agile is to be encompassing all of these four elements, to be able to have interactions and people and individuals over processes and tools, to be able to have working software over comprehensive documentation, to be able to have customer satisfaction over contract negotiation, and to respond to change over following a strict plan. So that's really what the agile is. It's very important, especially if you are a developer, to understand how an agile team works. If you are a QA person, if you're a business analyst, if you're a project manager, a product owner, these are very important things. And even if you're not working in software, I've found that even other companies, finance companies, insurance companies, are adapting an agile methodology in the way they run their business and their projects because it's so much more flexible than going step by step by step with a waterfall. All right, so that's my little take on agile software development. I hope that you enjoy this video. You can go check out the full article up on karaleise.com, and I thank you so much for watching and staying to the end. Thank you. Take care. See you next time.